LeBron James might be the most famous athlete on earth. Considering the amount of scrutiny he's been under since he was a teenager, the man has done a remarkably good job choosing his words carefully and staying out of trouble. However, the king is human, and sometimes he has said some pretty eyebrow-raising things. Keep watching to find out about times LeBron James disrespected NBA players. Steph Curry. While LeBron is yet to speak publicly on this, rumors have been circulating in 2021 that he just straight up doesn't like Steph Curry. Steph isn't exactly a dislikable guy. He's a soft-spoken husband and father who politely thanks Jesus after every three-pointer and allegedly listens to Christian rap on the way to practice. If you needed a partner in a swearing contest, Curry would probably be the worst choice. But aside from that, it's hard to think of a reason to dislike him. Yet, according to Bill Simmons, one of the top sports analysts in the US, LeBron does not like Steph Curry. In January of 2021, Simmons had Steph Curry as a guest on his podcast and asked him directly about this, saying, quote, "Watching from afar, it doesn't seem like you like each other. I'm sure there's a mutual respect," end quote. Being the gentle, nice guy that he is, most expected Steph to refute this and assure Simmons that he and LeBron did indeed like each other. But he didn't do that. Instead, Steph replied, quote, "There's definitely a mutual respect. I would say, though, when you see guys working out with each other in the summers and you see guys playing pickups and all that, when you step foot on the court during the season, it's a totally different environment," end quote. Needless to say, Steph and LeBron have been rivals over the past decade. If there is true animosity between the two, however, it's not clear where from. Maybe Curry's offended by the bad language in LeBron's warm-up mixtapes. Maybe LeBron thinks Under Armour is a lousy brand. Or maybe they've just spent too much time competing against one another for the NBA's grand prize. But with the rumor as juicy as this, we're likely to learn more soon. Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is not a good three-point shooter. It's just a fact. His career percentage from the beyond the arc is remarkably low, just 10%. To understand how lousy this is, the worst three-point shooter in NBA history was none other than Charles Barkley, whose career percentage was 26.6. Simmons is still a young player and has only been active in the league for 4 seasons, but he is currently on pace to absolutely destroy Barkley's record. That is, if the Philadelphia coaching staff allows him to keep attempting threes. Fans in Philadelphia are probably hoping Simmons will start getting fined for his attempts, or maybe ejected, or just simply slapped across the face. In any case, Simmons' thorough inability to make anything from long range has become famous around the league, and no one seems more aware of it than LeBron James. During a 2019 matchup in Philadelphia, the King was matched up with the young Simmons for what proved to be a hilarious evening. LeBron must have been relieved to find out he was paired with Simmons because he used the opportunity to store up energy for his offense. Rather than guard Simmons, LeBron basically just stood around while Simmons dribbled back and forth. He let the struggling young star shoot whatever he wanted, knowing he would probably miss. The team, the Philadelphia fans in attendance, and of course Simmons himself, all took this as a huge sign of disrespect. James was practically reading the newspaper, calling his wife, and writing in his diary instead of paying any attention to what Simmons was up to. Anytime Simmons was beyond the arc, the defense got even worse. At the start of the third quarter, James left Simmons about as wide open as the Great Plains of Nebraska, knowing he would either pass the ball or miss the open three. Mere seconds later, James left Simmons in the exact same position. This time, Simmons took the shot, and guess what happened? Watch again. James responds to Simmons' three-point attempt by strolling underneath the basket and preparing to collect the rebound. He's like the ambulance driver who rolls up next to Evel Knievel before his next big stunt. He knew Simmons would fail, and he prepared accordingly. This may be brutally disrespectful, but you gotta hand it to James. He was kinda right. Simmons finished the game with just 8 points on 3 of 13 shooting and, of course, 0 made threes. After seeing the box score, James was probably pissed. He could have easily spent even more time pondering the meaning of life and practicing his knitting skills on defense. The Utah Jazz. It isn't just individuals who have felt the burn from the league's wealthiest star. During a regular season game in Utah in 2019, LeBron sparked outrage among Utah fans and announcers after he took his shoes off during the fourth quarter. The game was a total blowout, and many were quick to interpret LeBron's shoelessness as a disrespectful move towards the losing team. The announcers were also quick to notice that LeBron had wandered his soft and comfy way to an area far beyond the restricted zone for players on the bench, waving his towel hysterically and quietly stomping his cozy feet. It didn't go over well with the crowd there at all. However, it turns out LeBron actually had a reason for taking his shoes off. And it wasn't so he could relax while watching the Lakers scrubs crush the remaining life out of Utah. In fact, not only had LeBron removed the shoes, he had gotten rid of them entirely. Moments earlier, cameras caught LeBron signing the shoes and handing them off to a brother and sister in the audience. In truth, he was so sure the Lakers were going to win that he forgot about the game entirely and had resumed his philanthropy work. The Utah announcers were quick to correct their mistake, but there's no doubt the whole thing left a sour taste in the mouths of many Utah fans. The whole event generated enough controversy that LeBron took to his Instagram shortly afterwards with a long caption addressing the situation. He wrote, quote, "Imagine doing your job at the highest level to where you're not needed anymore. Giving your shoes to a little girl and boy who you inspire and you hope made proud that night, then cheering on your teammates because you love seeing them succeed more than yourself only to be criticized for it. People, it's the world we live in, and you can't let it ever stop you from your purpose in life." The National Anthem. In addition to players and their teams, James has also drawn criticism from some who feel he disrespected the National Anthem. A clip surfaced a while back of James during the National Anthem performance at a Lakers home game. As we all know, this particular ritual has become a major source of controversy in recent years. Some players have chosen to kneel while others have chosen not to. James, on the other hand, can be seen in the video neither kneeling nor even standing still for that matter. In fact, he yells really, really loudly and for a really, really long time, right in the middle of the performance. When you're 6'9" and over 250 pounds, it seems you get blessed with enormous lungs in addition to enormous paychecks. James yelled so loud that practically all of Staples Centers heard him. And in the video, you can hear many of the fans cheering. Not everyone on the internet was cheering, however. James was accused of disrespecting the National Anthem and the various things it is said to represent. Negative tweets were sent out around the country. At the same time, many others were quick to defend LeBron. If you pay attention to the audio in the clip, you can hear that the National Anthem is almost over by the time James actually yelled out. It's been argued that he wasn't so much interrupting as he was embellishing the grand finale. Whatever the case may be, he again managed to stir up controversy and ignite charges of being disrespectful. The Houston Rockets. If this year's rumors about LeBron not liking Curry are true, then the stunt he pulled in January against Houston needs some serious explaining. During a rout of the Rockets on January 12th, James scored a game-high 26 points. But the thing which caught by far the most attention was a three-pointer he shot during the second quarter. This was in the midst of the Lakers' largest lead of the night. And unfortunately for Houston, it was already pretty obvious LA was going to take home the W. LeBron was apparently so sure of victory that he took this opportunity to do an impromptu Steph Curry impersonation. Steph is notorious for shooting open threes and turning around before the shot has even gone in. He's done it numerous times against numerous different teams, all of whom take it as a sign of disrespect. Warriors fans also see it as disrespectful, but in a good way. Steph is so confident in his all-time shooting skills that he doesn't even have to look. It's become something of a calling card for the Warriors franchise player, and fans are enthusiastic in hoping to see him do it again and again. However, LeBron doesn't have all-time shooting skills like Curry does. He's definitely an all-time scorer, but from beyond the arc and from the free throw line in particular, James is only marginally better than the average player. He's also, as far as anybody can remember, never done anything like this before. Still, this didn't stop him from imitating Steph in a way that looked sort of forced and unnatural. One of the things James apparently didn't get the memo on is that Steph turns around in order to run back on defense. James didn't do that. He simply turned around and stared at his teammates on the bench, which doesn't really have the same effect. It sure worked for his teammates, though. The bench went nuts, celebrating this bizarre act for reasons that are not entirely obvious. And while the Laker bench was quite pleased, the Houston Rockets, the Houston fans in attendance, and the many watching on TV were incredibly displeased. Even the announcers called this disrespectful of James, who was clearly doing it on purpose just to show off. In fact, Rockets coach Stephen Silas had this to say following James's antics and the jubilance of the Lakers bench. Quote, "They're having fun at our expense, so it doesn't feel good at all, and we should take umbrage." End quote. Umbrage is a word that has not been seen since the 18th century, but apparently it means taking offense. What Count Silas was trying to articulate with his impressive vocabulary is that LeBron James pissed him off, and he and the Rockets felt very disrespected by it. Michael Jordan. Many feel that James even disrespected the GOAT himself when he claimed that he, not MJ, was the greatest of all time. He did this during a docuseries on ESPN called More Than an Athlete, and was referencing the Cavaliers' historic comeback in the 2016 finals against Golden State. One of the many people to comment on this was MJ himself, who said making such a claim, quote, disrespects Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, all the guys that, prior to me, I never had a chance to play against. When I hear it, I cringe a little bit. It's a little embarrassing because no one knows, end quote. Final thoughts. LeBron James has lived at the top of the basketball headlines for nearly 2 decades. It's not surprising that he's managed to do some things in that time that not everyone has been happy with. What do you think? Did James disrespect these players, franchises, and even the national anthem? Or is everyone just overreacting? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And please, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for more great content like this on Dunk. That's all for now. We'll see you next time.